Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Eris. So today I am making something kind of flashy. I didn't just want it to be basic and plain, so I picked this color or this pattern of the faux leather, and we're going with the simple bag lock. So one of the reasons I chose this is because I know you guys haven't seen me use a different technique to sew the sides of the bag. So instead of the usual one where we have like the front piece, the bottom all the way to the back, where it's just one continuous band, then you have two sides on the gusset. So instead, this one is the flap and the back is a piece, the front is a piece, and I just have this one long strip going all the way around the bottom, the side, the bottom, and the other side of the bag. So this is actually really simple. It's straightforward. I think I made this in like 2 hours or so. It was super short, it was super quick. So I think this is something I want to be adopting, where I make like simple and straightforward projects, but I choose really nice materials and accessories and all. Okay, so I'm taking this baby out for a spin today, and I sort of just twirled the chain around the flap. So I'm going to have something like this because I'm going for like a casual but also kind of classy look, even though it's on a budget. But you could always try this out. I'm going to leave links to the patterns, I'm going to leave dimensions, I'm going to leave measurements, I'm going to leave as much information as you would need to recreate this bag. And I don't know, I think you can always adopt this, because I don't know why it took me so long to figure this out. It's like when you have a really nice material, even if what you do is basically just sewing two pieces together, you always like come out with this really nice thing because you invested in good materials and you're making projects that you can actually take out, not just something that will slip under your work cabinet. All right, okay, so I want to take this chance to thank my sister Kim Dave for she was in Nigeria for a while. A lot of you may have noticed, and she actually like gave me like a really good time, and she gave me like a lot of advice on YouTubing, vlogging and everything, because she's my mentor, she's my big sister, she's technically one of my favorite people, like she's my best friend. So I want to thank her for everything. And I was also featured, yes, that's true, I don't know if I was also featured on her channel. We did like a sister tag, so I'm going to leave the link in the description for that too, and you can go check it out, where we answered questions, we talked about our childhood and a few other things. So I think that's everything. Well, thank you for clicking this video to watch. If you want to see my other videos on leathercraft and tips and tricks and hacks and DIYs and unboxing and reviewing leather tools, you could check out my other videos. I would love to get feedback from you guys. And I'm going to say this again, I think I mentioned this in another video, where I want to start a new series on small businesses and our personal lives and everything. So it's still an idea I'm working on, but I think this is what is going to be something that people would appreciate, because I also struggled with that thing myself, where I did not get enough mentoring, and this really puts a struggle. And I think with the pandemic, a lot of things have changed. So I'm going to be interviewing a few people with successful businesses, those that started from their homes and are still doing it in their home, or those that are working remotely. Just anything business related. So if you have questions about that, or if you have some thoughts, or if you have ideas, if you have anything to say, you can just leave it in the comment section and I would reply. All right, I hope to get feedback on this. Please, if you can make it, make this. It's very easy. It took me like 2 hours to do it. Forget the fact that it's all flashy. I basically just got a chain and attached it after I was done producing. So just let me know how it works for you. You could tag me on Instagram, you could share me a picture, you could anyhow you want to reach out to me. My email, my DMs, my Twitter, everything is open. You can always reach out to me, and I would love to hear from you guys. All right, that being said, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would love to hear from you. I want you guys to be more active on this channel. If you have questions, if you have concerns, anything at all you want to tell me, speak to me. Let's just speak with me. Speak to me, I'm all ears. All right, guys, let's get crafting. All right, guys, so today we are working with synthetic leather, and this is just a close-up of the one I'm using. It's kind of teal green with gold highlights. It's the crocodile skin pattern. And for our chains, I sort of switched this out later on, but this is always interchangeable. You don't have to keep it. So it's the chain, the hooks, and 2 small D-rings. And this is the bag lock that I am using. So here I am using thick fiber. Okay, no, sorry, it's not thick. It's about 2 millimeter thick fiber board. It's what I called carry board the last time. And these are the dimensions. It's for the sides, the main piece, and under the flap. So I'm just going to cut out the 3 pieces here, and this is what I'm going to wrap in synthetic leather. So first of all, let's just have a quick look-see. And yes, this is actually how the shape is going to turn out. I just like doing this to be sure I'm on the safe side. So I'm using contact adhesive, or what you call Evo stick. So I'm just going to apply it first on the paper itself. See, the thing is that you don't have to use this exact type of paper. Any kind of thick cardstock would actually do. Just choose the thickness or the stiffness. Sometimes I even use cereal boxes, but this one is actually called chipboard, but it's basically just thick paper like cardboard or recycled cereal box. So after putting the glue, I'm just going to let it breathe a bit, then I'll bring it back, and just before rolling it in, I'm just going to put it back into the shape that I drew out. And it's this way. I'm sure it's the exact size and I didn't miss anything. Then I'm just going to take my leather roller and roll it in. So this way all the sides and all the surfaces are fused together. And I'm going to just cut it out. Let's switch to scissors. I'm just going to cut it out, leaving about 1 centimeter allowance around it. And this is what we're going to now fold in on the paper itself. So I'm just doing this for all 3 pieces. This is like a DIY way. You don't have to cut it on a large sheet. You can cut the pieces all small. I'm just doing this to save time. So I'm going to cut out 3 of them before folding the edges. So this is a method of finishing the edges. It's called folding method. You can check out my other videos on different ways to finish the edges of your leather, but because this is the most common one when using synthetic, so it's what I use because it's the most comfortable and it's the easiest. And synthetic is basically a thick material, but it folds well. You don't need to skive, you don't need to thin out the edges. They fold in without anything. So I'm just going to add a line of glue all around the pieces, touching both the paper and the synthetic. And I'm just going to carefully fold it in on itself like I'm wrapping. I'm just going to carefully do the edges so it's not too bulky when you're sewing it together. So this is the method I use to fold in my sharp corners. And for the other one, I just use my hand, or you could use a bone folder. But this is what I usually use. I just use my hand. And I cut out any excesses before moving on to the main pieces. This is the side, this is the gusset. So the same thing, you're just going to fold in all 3 pieces. So this is all you're going to need for the outside, just these 3 pieces before moving into the lining. And okay, this is a close-up of me doing the curved edges because I like it to be really neat. So I use my piercing awl or my piercing iron and I just sort of pinch it in as tight as possible so you get that really nice curve. And just press it in, tuck it in really snug as many times as possible. So after doing all the edges and folding, I'm going to hammer it out, and here it looks okay. I haven't put any other thing. I'm just obsessed with this. I like coming back to always check to make sure my sizes fit instead of waiting to the end and seeing I made mistakes. So here I'm just marking the center point to fix the bag lock. It's better I do it now because it helps me put the other side on the other piece. At least that way you're sure that it's straight and is neat. So I'm just going to go on to mark the 2 holes for the screws to pass through before going in and punching the holes. So let's just make sure that's correct. And we're going to punch 2 holes according to the bag lock that you're using. If it's the one where you get to press the 2 prongs, fine. If it's the screw-in method, fine. So like what I said, this actually helps me to make sure I have the middle. You can do this on your pattern, so you can just transfer the markings to your main project. But because this is a one-time thing, I didn't have time to make the pattern, so I just cut out the heavy-duty papers and just went straight on. So that's why I'm doing all this. But if I had to do this on a pattern, this is how I'll be able to get it. So this way you have a more realistic positioning on the other side of the bag lock, where you get to put in, before I just carefully take my pen knife and I just punch in 4 holes. And also, if you're using a metal tag, it's also at this point you get to add, but I didn't use any for this purse because it's a DIY and it's not for a client. So here I'm just quickly going to attach the D-ring. So I'm measuring 1/2 inch from the edge. I'm just marking in the middle. I'm using a really small D-ring, also about 1/2 inch too, because it's a very small piece. So I'm just going to go and mark it there, then draw out the lines. So this way I just use the pen knife to cut out the piece. You can use a wide an oval punch, but because this one is pretty small and it's pretty thin, so I'm just going to hook the D-ring on a piece and pass it through the hole so it's as tight and as snug as possible. Then I'll take it to the sewing machine to just sew right on that D-ring, right by the hole. So this is what it looks like afterwards. You can't really see it because I use the same color threads, but yeah, it's just to sew it down and trim off any excess. So I have my tiny loops if I want to put chains or if I want to put a strap. Okay, so the next thing, since I'm done attaching all the hardware and accessories, the next thing that will make sense is to put contact adhesive all over all the pieces up to the edges. So I'm just going to glue that and coat the inside because we're about to attach the lining. So because the lining I'm using is fabric, I'm not really putting glue on the fabric itself, because if I put the glue like this and I just let it breathe for about a few seconds while it's still really sticky, and you put your lining, it's still going to fuse with the paper. But you have to be careful, because when you put the lining on the paper, there's no coming back from it. When you separate them, it would actually rip the paper through. So I'm just going to put not excessively, but enough contact adhesive or Evo stick on all 3 pieces before putting the fabric on. But if you're lining with skin or another synthetic leather, or basically any other type of leather, any other type of material apart from fabric, sorry, then you have to put your contact adhesive on both pieces. But this is fabric, and the fabric is going to soak in the glue. So I'm just going to get this piece. You don't need up to 1 meter. You could, like with half a meter, you can make this bag. You don't need too much material. It's a really small purse. So the same way I did the first part, then I separate this afterwards before rubbing it in. You can use a leather ruler for here, but I like to use my hands because it's more intricate and I get to reach the tighter corners. And because there's hardware on some of these things, I don't want to hit it or roll it out, so I just use my hands. So at this point, I'm now going to sew just the tops and the flap itself. So let's take it to the sewing machine to do some sewing. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, so you can get to see more content like this. So I'm just going to sew the top alone and just the flap, excluding the back. So all those other sides, you sew it when you've clipped it together. So you want to be careful when you're doing this. The closer it is to the edge, the better and the neater it's going to be. So I'm just going to slice off all the excess fabric carefully and as neatly as possible. And I'm going to slice out the edges, actually moving it in about half a centimeter. So when you sew the bags together, you don't have the fabric sticking out. But this is the first step. You just want to trim as much as possible. Because any other trimming you want to do, you can do it, but you need to trim as far in as possible. So when you sew your bags, when you close your bags rather, you don't have the fabric sticking out from the edge. So I'm just going to go on the other pieces and trim. Okay, after this point, there's only one more step for you, and you start with the closing of the bag. Okay, so I skipped a step here. Before I actually started clipping, I actually put in a little glue to hold it in, but I skipped it. So that's why when you see me just holding it together, before I even clip it, the pieces are already fusing together. It's because I put like a thin line of contact adhesive around the edges. So that way when I'm sewing, it doesn't shift. So the clips are just extra reinforcements. And because it's kind of stiff, that's why I'm doing all this, because I don't want this to move when I'm sewing. I want it to be as easy as possible, because I think I made this the other time and it was difficult because there was no glue, so the stuff just kept on moving around while I was sewing. So I'm just going to go and sew this side. This was exactly the same way I did the other side that has the flap. So I'm just going to do this and sew it all the way around. And now you believe me when I say it's a simple purse. There's nothing so complicated about it. It's beginner friendly, and if you're new to this cylinder bed sewing machine, this is a good way to learn, because this is one of the major reasons why you need this to sew corners like this. It's much easier than using a flatbed sewing machine when you want to sew in corners like this. I'm just going to go on and finish this edge off. before we go back to the table and reattach the tip of our lock. Just do a little back stitch for some security. You don't want this to unravel. And you trim out any excesses. You trim any threads. You burn down any tips that are still showing, any things that are still lingering, before going back and reattaching the lock. And that's the final thing to do on this purse. You don't have to use exact bag lock. You can use any type you want as long as it works well for you. So that is how I made this clutch purse. You can use it without the chain handle. You can carry it just as a clutch purse, or if it's a more casual gathering, you could just attach the chain to it, and that is basically all you need.